Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be focusing on problems for scanf functions. So of course, before beginning, you got to make sure you know how to use the scanf function properly. Make sure you know the different placeholders for ints and doubles because that's what we're going to focus on. So it's a %d and %f, and understand how to set up the main function and directives. Easy enough. So we're going to just look into the scanf function just a little bit more, just a couple slides, and it's only going to talk about multiple numbered assignments and variables within the scanf function. So for example, the printf function, it can have multiple variables declared in there, correct? You can have 3, 4, 5 variables declared in the printf function. Same thing with the scanf function. So right here, I have a scanf function, quotation marks, %d, %d separated by space, %f, and %f also separated by spaces, right? So this first %d is going to be this value is going to be stored at address A. So when we do a space, when we're inputting the numbers, when the user's inputting the number, now it's going to move to B. And whatever value the user inputs, it's going to be stored at B. Then we take another space, and this the use the input number that they input is going to be stored at C. I did not declare, you do not see them declared, but if you look at straight like this, D, D, F, F, this is going to be integer variable, F variable, I'm so sorry, double variable, and a double variable. Make sure these line up. This cannot be a double variable because it maps to the %d. If this is a double variable, this has to be %f. So for the scanf function, to separate the values while inputting, you just put a space. In this scanf function, we have a %d, we have a slash, %d plus, %d plus, %d. So what I'm pretty much saying this is all of these variables are integer variables. What we're doing here is the %d. So when we're finished with that declaration of that value, we're gonna put a slash, and now it moves on to the next one, and we're gonna put whatever number we want. For example, let's say this variable is 23, and now we're gonna plus. This is you can do whatever you want to separate these variables. This is what I chose, and then I could put a plus sign, and now there's another %d, and now it focuses on the r, and another plus variable after we finish our input, and it now focuses on t. So it's a little confusing, but we'll definitely go through plenty of problems for this. So like I said before, make sure the variable type matches the placeholder. For example, if this is a double, you're going to come out with an error because we have a %d here. It should be a %f. And of course, in the scanf function, the address operator is required for every single variable that we're declaring, that we're matching the input value. All right, so this is an example problem. So we have the directive, the main function. We're declaring two variables, A and B. We're assigning them no value, right? So what's gonna happen is when we run this program, it's gonna show the user to input. It's gonna ask them to input two integer numbers in a fraction in the form A slash B. So A is gonna be %d and B is going to be %d. So let's say I put 2 right here. I input a 2. Then we put a slash mark and I put a 3 for this one. So the first one's going to be 2 and the second one's going to be 3. So when this prints out, the fraction is %d slash %f. We're going to, in the printf function, we're going to declare these variables, and it's going to come out to 2 divide 3 because A matches to this one, which is 2, and B matches to this one, which is 3. So now we're going to focus on problems. So how to approach a simple C problem or any program problem. Make sure to highlight exactly what they're asking for and the necessary variables that are on scene. For example, there are questions, there's variables that's not explicitly said, but you have to understand what is needed. For example, you might need integer variables, you might need values. For example, a quarter could be 25 cents, but they never stated the value of a quarter. You just have to know the value of a quarter. That's one example. That's going to actually be our first example, so you'll see what I mean. Second, we have to focus on logic. We have to have sound logic and steps before writing the actual code. Because if it's like math. If you're not following logical steps, if you're breaking rules, your code is not going to work. So you have to make sure how you're writing it is logical and sound. And then three, this is more focused on a simple C program. Ask how many inputs and outputs are needed, especially using the sample problems. So four, break down the problem into smaller components. Maybe do sections of it. Maybe don't do it completely at one go. Try to ask yourself, okay, let me do this part real quick, and then that part. Break it down into smaller components will make it so much easier for you to do. And number five, analyze the sample problems to figure out a solution. You are usually given sample problems to see what kind of way they want you to answer the question. So it's time for practice problems. So question one. Write a program that computes the total amount of money given in numbers of quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies. Ask the user to input the number of quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies using the printf and scanf functions. Calculate the total with the given amounts. So when you print out total, use %f %.2f in the printf function instead of %f because this will allow you to round to two decimal places. It'll allow you to round to two decimal places. If you just put %f in my compiler, it will show up like this. But you want two decimal places, so you're gonna put that %.2f. All right, so here's a program example. This is while the program is running, right? Enter the amount of quarters, and the user will input this, and it'll move to the next question. The user will input this. Go to the next question. The user will input this. Same thing here. And now this is going to be automatically calculated and printed out. So the only inputs we need is this, this, and this. So you have to come up with questions and find a way for the user to input them and for the total to be calculated. So I'll give you guys a second so you can try this problem out. Pause the video, and when you're ready, just come back. All right, so I'll go ahead and start answering this question. So it's going to include the studio.h directive, the main function, of course. All right, so what we want to do first is we want to find the values of quarter, dimes, nickels, and pennies. Of course, they're always the same thing. Double for quarter equals 0.25 cents. Double for dime equals 0.1 cents. Double for nickel is 0.05, and double for penny is 0.01. So those are the values that we need for quarter, dime, nickel, penny. These are doubles because these are decimal places. Do not do integer variables. They would all come out to 0 if you do integer variables. So now, what we have to do is we have to find the integers to multiply these. What I mean by that is we have to find the total. For example, if there's you're asking the user how many quarters you have. If they have four, they have 4 quarters, so it's 4 times 0.25. So you need to store this integer and multiply it later to find the total. Same thing with here. We need to store this integer, then we need to store this integer and this integer, and that would come out to our total. We have to add that all together. So we need to store those in variables. We need to declare them. So for here, q is going to be the integer for quarter. So when the user inputs it, it'd be 4. Remember, we're not assigning them any value because the user's going to be inputting them. D for the integer of dimes, N for the integers of nickels, and P for the integers of penny. And here I will just declare the value of total. Total is a decimal number, so it needs to be of type total. Now, we're going to do the printf functions and scanf functions to answer these questions right here. So we're going to printf, enter the amount of quarters. So the thing about the scanf function, it doesn't use a new line character because when you automatically finish, it's gonna go to the next line. So it's like using a new line character, but without having to actually write out the new line character. So what do I want to scan for this? I want to scan this number right here, and we're gonna store this number in Q. So we're gonna use the ampersand Q, and we're gonna close that. So printf, enter the amount of quarters, scanf, %dq. We're going to do the exact same thing for dimes, nickels, and pennies. Alright, scanf. Remember, these are integer types because I'm focusing on int, q, d, and p. Don't forget the address operator, so I can store the value in there. So we're going to do the enter the amount of nickels. Of pennies. And this is the last scanf function we'll need. Oops, P. Okay, let's just take a look at what I did. So I did a printf function so I can ask the question to the user. It is asking enter the amount of quarters you have. So this scanf function will take input from the user when the program is running, and it will store that value in Q. So in this sample program, the printf function is asking this question right here, and the scanf function will be taking inputs, and it would be storing this 4 if the user inputs it. It can be any amount the user inputs. And that's what's happening throughout all 4. These are all the same concepts. It's enter the amount of dimes. So let's say you have 3 dimes, it's going to be, you're entering 3. Enter the amount of nickels. Let's say you have 2 nickels, it's going to be 2. And the amount of pennies is going to be also 2. So now what we're focused on is getting the answer of total. So total is going to find the total of money that you have. So we want to make sure we have the value of quarter times the amount of quarters that we have. So that's going to be Q. Then we're going to add that with dime, the value of dime, with the amount of dimes that we have. So it's going to be D. Same thing for nickel. And same thing for penny. All right, so the total is, let's say we have 4 quarters. It'd be 0.25 times 4, that's $1. Then we have plus dime, which is zero point 0.1 times, let's say 3. So this is 30 cents. We have $1.30 here. Let's say nickel is 0.05. We have 2 nickels. That's going to be 10 cents, so $1.40. And let's say we have 5 pennies. It's going to be 5 times 0.01. 0.01, yes. So it'd be 1.5, oh, 1.45. All right. So we want to display um, the total in a printf function. So that's what we got to make sure. We got to printf total is %d. We do not want to hard code it because we don't know the value. We're going to get all these values during the program. And then we're going to comma and total. This does not need an address operator. Does not need that ampersand sign because this is a printf function. Return 0. All right, and close the brackets. So guys, I actually had a small bug in my program. It was a very dumb mistake. So here, I'll actually show you guys. So total is %d, and I'm declaring it as total, right? But here, I declared total as a double. So this should be %f. So look at what happens when I run this program. I'm just gonna, oops, number lock. So total comes out to -1546, that huge number, right? So say I change it to %f. Now I rerun this program. 1.64, 0000. So this is what happens when you put the wrong placeholder. It completely skews your results. So instead of having that 1.640000, money only has 2 decimal places. So what we want to do is we just want to round it to 2 decimal places. So to do that, we do percent, points, and how many decimal places we want. I want 2 decimal places, so it's %.2f. We run this one more time. 4, 4, 4, 4. It total is 1.64. So guys, I hope you like this question. I'm gonna do 3 more questions in the next video. I'm going to go over Scanf Function, the multiple assignments. So we're gonna input the date in the form months, 2 numbers, day, 2 numbers, years, 4 numbers. Then we're gonna do in the form of ISBN number, and we're gonna input this, and we're gonna ask the computer to output all of this. So there'll only be one input. And for the last question, we're gonna ask to enter 2 fractions separated by a plus sign. For example, 5, 6 plus 3, 4, and we want the printf function to print this out. So I hope to see you guys in the next video. We definitely have to have practice in order to be a good programmer and develop your skills. Practice is very key. So that's what I'm focusing on this course, is to have a lot of practice, a lot of different questions. These are actually coming from my college textbook, my college course. So this is definitely questions that you'll definitely see if you're considering going to school for computer science or computer engineering. Well, guys, I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much.